Came back another time.
Well, look who it is. It's Mr. Bill.
Hey, how you doing? What y'all been doing out there?
On the porch. Well, you know, we just been doing our show. What have you been up to today?
I'll tell you, up until now, I think this is the first time I've sat down all day.
Oh yeah, busy day?
I mean to tell you, between yesterday and today, we've had folks from Vietnam, Jordan, Germany, Uganda, Ethiopia, Brazil, Argentina. I mean, we've had people from all over the world here today.
Now, are you keeping a map at home with push pins from all these different locations?
No, but I do have a list. I do have a list of the names.
I'm going to have to see this list.
I'd have to have too big a map. I couldn't think I could get them all in there. But yeah, it's been a very, very busy day. It's been such a gorgeous day. Of course, it's like this every day. 365 days a year, it's like this at the Old Sautee Store.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's a year, it's a leap year, it has 366 days. That 66th day is Old Crummy. But the rest of the 365 are all nice. I got Terry here with me. She's visiting with me from Toccoa.
Say hey, Terry.
Good to be here. Oldest operating store in Georgia.
Now see, we get guests from all over the world, but we also have some from close to home as well.
She came out west to see us today. So yeah, it's been a very good day. Picked a little bit this morning, a little bit yesterday.
Oh yeah.
But most of the time I'm just talking about the store and sharing about sharing the cider, talking about the cheese and all of our products back there. But it's you know, our products sell themselves. Once the people taste it, they talk about me being a salesman. I'm not. I just offer people samples and they enjoy it and they had it. I didn't have time to have lunch today, but I did have one of our peanut butter cookies from the deli. That was outstanding today. But I think they were slammed at the deli today. I watched them.
Oh yeah, they had a good crowd
large
in
groups
there.
coming in all the time. So yeah, it's been a marvelous day. The weather's been perfect, and
Now, were my ears playing a trick on me, or did I hear you put a quarter in that Nickelodeon a little while
did
ago?
I ever put a quarter? I put a quarter in Nickelodeon, and then it ran, and I did need to do a little repair on it, and all of a sudden it started running by itself. It ran about 4 or 5 songs in a row, and so I had to realize what I'd done. There was a little trigger I needed to move on it, but I got it fixed. But
so not only is the store old, it's haunted. That's
haunted,
cool.
yes, we have. Yeah, I'm sure there's some old creature here, old farmer, old fella maybe from the war that is the Civil War, is still around here. But no, it's a marvelous store. It's always a joy to be here and to be a part of this experience. It's more than a store. It's a fellowship of friends, because this is what the store was all about when it was built. People during the week, on the weekends they go to church, they'd visit one another. During the week, they wanted to see. I wanted to see Terry, how things going with your family, how things going. What'd you make for supper last night? How your kids doing? That's what this store is all about. We just did those kind of things, and that's what we're doing now. And so it's a good place to be, and it's always a joy.
Heck yeah. Well, thanks, Bill.
Well, I'm glad y'all came in.
And thank you, Miss Terry. I'm going to let y'all get back to y'all's conversation.
I'm fixing to pour some more cider here in a few minutes. So
well, I'm fixing to get in line.
Get in line. Come on.
All right.
See you later.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Old Sautee Show. We've got a great program for you today. We've got return guests from our podcast roots, Debbie and Joe Whelchel. They're 2 local musicians, and they're also in a loving marriage. Thank you for joining us today, Debbie and Joe.
You're welcome.
Now,
Our pleasure.
I see the banjo, and my first thought is y'all play bluegrass music, but I learned that y'all's style actually predates bluegrass. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it does. In fact, we actually met each other. We're on second marriages here, and we met each other 20-something years ago playing bluegrass music. She had a different banjo at the time. Bluegrass involves a banjo with a resonator on the back of it. And along the way, we discovered old-time Appalachian mountain style music, which is actually, bluegrass music is partly derived from that, along with Irish music and blues and a number of things. And we just fell in love with this Appalachian music, fell in love with the sound of it. It just reached deep down into us and affected us somewhere. And we migrated out of bluegrass and into old time. She learned how to play the banjo in this style, which is called clawhammer. So you might want to just do a little demo on the. Yeah, that's good. And so, yeah, enough already. Yeah, so with bluegrass, you play with finger picks, and it's just much more aggressive, faster, louder. You've seen it, you know what it looks like. And this is just much more in tune with the way the musicians played this music in this area right here. In
200 years ago.
Yeah, 200. In fact, probably 200 years ago on this porch right here at the Old Sautee Store. No doubt there would have been a fiddle player and a banjo player at that time and playing this very style of music. We just fell in love with it and never looked back.
The thing about bluegrass music, or bluegrass banjo as opposed to clawhammer banjo, I feel when you're playing bluegrass banjo, you need a band to go with your bluegrass banjo. Where this, you can have a band, but you can also sit on your porch and just sing very, very pretty ballads and songs.
Well, just the little bit that I've noticed from watching y'all play before we went live is it seems like your style of banjo is a little bit more melodic and less of a lead instrument that you would see banjo being played.
Right, it's meant to
bluegrass.
accompany the fiddle. Back in the old days, it was fiddle banjo for all the dances, the square dances. It was mostly just fiddle banjo, and it accompanies the fiddle. Fiddle is king in these parts. Banjo is just to help it sound sweeter.
You guys were with us as one of our very first episodes and told the story when we were just audio only, and we just so much are happy today to have you back and be able to see you as well and see the
we love it. Thank you.
And just thank y'all so much. And in the last few weeks on our show, we've had several of our folks that come by on the weekends and play with us here at the store, and Joe and Debbie are certainly among that. And so they're no strangers to the music here or to the store, but we don't get a chance to thank them in person. And I just wanted to do that. Thank you for
Thanks a lot, Dan.
all the help
you.
that
Thank you
you've
for having
given us
us.
this past year or so, and how much it means to us and to our customers that come by.
Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate
So
the
very
work you're doing with this
Yes.
too, because it brings a lot of the old original character back to this very store and this very community right here.
Well, you know,
Appreciate it.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that there would be folks like us sitting out here on the porch on a day like today, a beautiful fall day, and latter October here in the mountains, and you got to know you'd hear banjos ringing and
That's
fiddles playing.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Now, y'all mentioned that y'all have been playing music together now for roughly about 20 years. How did y'all first get into music individually? What styles did y'all play early on when you were first learning your instruments?
I played clarinet in the high school band, right?
Go
Bluegrass
figure.
clarinet.
Go figure that.
Bluegrass clarinet. Really, I have to go back in my young days, before I even knew about bluegrass music, before I knew about old time music. My grandfather was an old time fiddle player, and it was in his blood. He would come in from the farm and sit down in the evenings and just play the fiddle. And me, of course, I was a teenager. I was into Fleetwood Mac. I was into the Doobie Brothers. I was into all this other, and never really paid him much mind. But something must have gone in, because I'm playing exactly the kind of music that he played. And so I left that part of my life, and like I said, I didn't really even know too much about bluegrass music, but my dad started playing. And so he came up and visited one time, and he brought a bass, and I said, oh, this is pretty easy, I can do this. And then he took it on up to Michigan, and my sister sold the bass. So I said, well, what could I do? And so I said, I'll play the banjo. Of course, it's one of the harder instruments, but that's when I started. That's what brought me to the banjo, and that's what brought me to my husband.
And her whole family really plays this music. She has a professional caliber mandolin player as a niece. Her brother, sister, father, they all play bluegrass music. And in fact, when I met Debbie Lee, I tell the story, her family, when they met me, instead of doing a background check on me, I had to do an audition. And I just barely squeaked by, I think.
Well, what were your early influences, Joe?
You know, I started like most of us back in remember the folk music scare, we call it? The folk music craze that was going on in the 60s?
That would have been right before Beatlemania took off in America.
Yes, it would be. Yeah, or just right on the cusp of that, I think. You know, folk music, and then later on, as I grew older, rock music. The standard set of progressions that young people go through as they get older, they migrate to the music that really counts, which is this. I'm just kidding. It's all good.
I think you're onto something with that.
Yeah. So yeah, we just our taste matured over time, and here we are, never going back.
You know, Debbie had mentioned that she heard all this music growing up, but she was into the contemporaneous music at the time, and then as she got older, she kind of got back into her roots, and I feel like I'm kind of going through a similar journey. All that music that my grandparents listened to that I ignored as a kid, I'm getting into it now.
Yeah, see, it's not so bad after all, is it? Yeah, buddy.
Your parents are a lot smarter than you thought. aren't they?
Yeah, the older I get, the more I can see that.
Now, how did y'all two meet? Were y'all at a pickin' party? Did y'all go out on a date and then realize y'all played music and got into it that way?
We just went to the typical,
Everett's Barn,
there's a
really.
place called, down in Suwanee, Georgia, south of here, a place called Everett's Picking Barn.
Oh.
It is a historic, iconic place where all the top name bluegrass people come through, and they also have a lot of open jam sessions, and that was an every Saturday night thing for us, and we see each other there, and then other jam sessions, other places, and one thing leads to another, and there you go.
Really, the story is, the true story is he had just gotten a little puppy, a 4-month-old little puppy, and so we started talking. He says, "Do you want to come out and see my puppy?" And so that's where it all kind of and his puppy was named G-Run, which is a guitar lick. So
G-Run is a guitar lick.
Yep.
So name a dog after it. And anyway, that line worked for me.
It got you interested with the music, but he sealed the deal with the puppy.
with the puppy, yep.
She was already interested in the music. So she was already there full on.
And so you stayed in Atlanta for a few years after that, and then came to White County.
Retired, yeah. And we had built a cabin out here on this
Sure
road
did.
right behind us, Lynch Mountain Road, and it was a weekend place. And until we got fully retired, her and me as well, it was just a weekend thing. And then we retired and came up here full time, and never looked back again.
And our whole, we love the music, and what's also very important to us is passing on this music to younger generations. And so right here in Sautee, we just started a couple months ago with the JAM program, the Junior Appalachian Music Program right here in the Sautee Center. And we've got about 20 students, and we're teaching them guitar, fiddle, and banjo. And that's what it's all about, because we want to preserve this kind of music, so that's very important to us.
That's so good, because the young people that come through here at the store, we had a lot of discussion about that, saying in another generation or so, all of this old time stuff, all this tradition, history that we all cherish so much, is going to be lost, because the newer generations just simply don't care. But what we found out here at the store, the young children, if you take just a minute to engage them and get them something that they can touch and feel and learn about, they're all over it. Their parents, not so much. They're looking at their phone ready to go. But the kids are like, "No, Dad, I'm checking this out now." And then the next few days, you look, and the child's bringing the parents back in.
There you go.
And so with the music as well, that is just fantastic, because I think it is so important to all of our heritage here, and to have these young people. And we talk about this all the time. Young people who need to be learning how to play music. It's really difficult when you get to be our age, but when you're young like that, you're just a sponge.
It is the time to do it,
and it's just so natural for them, and they can really make a lifetime out of something.
Absolutely.
That is really important. So
I never forget the one time when I went somewhere, just stumbled into something that they were having a bluegrass festival. I didn't know anything about this, except the Beverly Hillbillies, and it was a live session, a live jam session. I walked up and I listened to this for a minute, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to learn to do that if it takes me the rest of my life." And just to your point, when you see it and you're exposed to it, there's something that just reaches down deep in you and grabs you.
Well, before we move on, what are requirements for your jam program for the children? What do they have to play at all, or?
No. It's a wonderful organization. It's all over the Southeast. Our program here in Sautee is the first one in Georgia. Now we have the Georgia Pick and Bow that's over in Dahlonega that started 15, 20 years ago, and they're going strong. But the jam program, it's in Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, all the southeastern states. And so we're fortunate to start one here in Sautee. But they it's the wonderful part is they give all the kids instruments. The instruments are all provided for. It's 3rd grade through 12th grade, I believe, and all the instruments are provided. And they take them home, they learn on them, and then hopefully that starts a fire, and then they can upgrade their instruments as they get older. But that's the beauty of the whole thing, and I'm very excited about this program.
Well, they're in good hands, and I don't think we've mentioned yet, but you write
A little bit.
and. You've performed at several of our local productions here in the area, plays and performances that have been written about our area and about the music,
Right.
and other traditions that were here a long time ago. And it's always great to have you sing.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope you'll share one with us.
Well, we can do that.
So, we talked earlier about the origins of this music. The Carter family, most people have heard of the Carter family. They made huge contributions to the old original country music and also old-time music. And one of their songs is called "You've Been a Friend to Me." And we'll just do that one now.
Yep.
Okay.
My bark of life was passing down a troubled stream of time. When first I saw your smiling face and youth was in its prime. No, I never forget wherever I roam, wherever you may be. If ever I had a friend, you've been that friend to me. Misfortune had me as a child and loved me kindly too. I would have had a broken heart had it not been for you. Oh, I never forget wherever I roam, wherever you may be. If ever I had a friend, you've been that friend to me. As I look back upon the past of life's troubled streams, I smile to think of all I've seen. You've been that friend to me. Oh, I never forget wherever I roam, wherever you may be. If ever I had a friend, you've been that friend to me. If ever I had a friend, you've been that friend to me.
Now, Debbie, Don mentioned that y'all write music. What is y'all's sources of inspiration when it comes to writing songs? I know that's a
Yeah.
vague question.
Well, I write songs. Most of the songs that I write are they come from my heart, and a lot of it is from the surrounding areas. I like to capture the feeling of this area right here in Sautee. So I write a lot about the mountains. When we lived on Lynch Mountain Road here, I wrote a song called Old Mountain Road. It's just something that comes from the heart. I had to kind of get it out there. We moved to this beautiful place, and we live in a beautiful place now. But I wanted to share the time that we were there on Lynch Mountain Road, and also Emory Jones, who is a playwright here in White County. He writes great plays, and he did a play called Valley Voices, and I wrote a song that kind of captured the feeling of this play that he wrote. It kind of talked about the Cherokee. It took you through a timeline, and just I wanted to show the beauty of this valley, and I have written some spiritual kind of songs too. I like to do that, but so it all comes from the heart.
Now, do you wait for inspiration to strike, or do y'all have the same writing window every day or every week? You just sit down?
No, it has to. It's got to strike.
It's a God thing.
It's got to strike. I could not sit down. If you say write a song, I couldn't do it. But there's got to be a feeling or something that brings out.
I haven't written as many songs as Deb has, but a few, and I do it a little differently. I start with a guitar lick. I start finding a chord pattern that I just like, and when you hear one of those, sometimes they start suggesting lyrics to you, and it's kind of backwards a little bit. But then I'm finding that other songwriters sometimes do the same thing.
Robert Plant mentioned that during the course of writing Stairway to Heaven, once he heard Jimmy Page's riff and stuff, the lyrics just kind of came naturally.
It's funny how that happens. Just chord progressions can begin to speak to you and put the right cadence in, the right lyrics in there. And ever since he wrote Stairway to Heaven, you can't go to a concert without somebody demanding you play it. That's right. But we say no anyway.
Can't play it in the music store anymore.
Yeah.
But I know you know a lot about, and if you would take us back and walk us through the evolution and the migration of the music, but the instruments as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got the interesting story in the banjo. I'll let you go with the banjo. Start with that.
Okay, all right. Well, the banjo really started in Africa with the African people, and they had something that was called an akante, and it's just it has a banjo head, and I think it had 3 strings. Looks similar to the banjo. And so when the slave trade came about, they were brought over here, and the African slaves fashioned a banjo out of some kind of skin, a cat skin, a groundhog skin, a gourd. They used a gourd, and they still actually make gourd banjos today. But that's how it really started in America. And so then they started teaching it to the surrounding areas, and then the Civil War came about, and it developed a little bit more, and then the Western expansion, so the banjo became very popular, and it really became popular in the minstrel shows back in the early 1900s. It became very popular during that time, and so then in the early 1900s, not 1900s, 1950s, the bluegrass banjo, Earl Scruggs, brought on the big resonator bluegrass banjo. So that took on a whole different face at that time. Some round come along. sugar baby gone. Ain't got no honey baby now. I got no sugar honey baby now. We lay down in the shade. We lay down in the shade. I gave her every dime I made. What more can a poor boy do? What more can a poor boy do? I've done all I can do. I've done all I can do. Try to get along with you. I'll take you to your mama next payday. I'll take you to your mama next payday. And I ain't got no use. I ain't got no use for your red apple juice. Living on your corn squeezins now. I'm living on your corn squeezins now. And it's who call you honey, who call you honey, and who sing a song, who rock the cradle when you're gone, who rock the cradle when you're gone. Well, I rock the cradle, yes, I rock the cradle, and I'll sing a song. I'll rock the cradle when you're gone, I'll rock the cradle when you're gone. Yeah.
Earlier you had asked about the origin of the music. She described the banjo, but as far as the style of music and the combination of instruments, most of this originated from the British Isles, specifically a lot of it from Ireland and Scotland. You remember from history, we had the great potato famines, where they had bad crops of potatoes that they needed for survival, and a lot of them just packed their belongings and got on a ship and came to America, helped to settle the country here, and they didn't have room to carry much of anything except maybe a fiddle with them. And so there were a lot of fiddles that came over on those ships from the British Isles. Yeah, and they got combined together, the banjo and the fiddle. And then later on, somebody came in with a guitar, and then a mandolin and a bass, and dobro, and whatever else happened to be around. So you see a lot of combinations now, but in its origin was just fiddle and banjo, basically.
And you'd have to think that there was also some Native American influence that
Yes.
melded into the European
For sure.
and African.
Yeah.
For sure, it all came together.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of the when we play some of these old-time fiddle tunes, a lot of them are a couple of 100 years old or 100 years old or something, and they typically will introduce them to in a jam with the name of the person who actually wrote the song originally. They recorded it from out of the mountains somewhere, and some of these were Native American Indians who originally wrote some of these old fiddle tunes.
So as all that came together and America was young, that blended music has become the basis of all our music we have today.
You know, I guess to some degree it is, because when Bill Monroe started bluegrass music, he said his influences were old-time country music like the Carter family, and local Mississippi Delta blues music, and also I think he mentioned some old rock music, like I don't know, I forget who he mentioned specifically, but those combinations created the bluegrass style, which has a lot of flatted notes in them, and those bluegrass licks that you hear people playing nowadays. Yeah.
It's almost as if all styles of music borrow and steal from other styles of
true.
music, and it just comes together as a big gumbo.
That absolutely
Right.
does happen. It absolutely is.
That's a good way to
A
put
lot
it.
of these old-time tunes were originally Irish tunes. So you hear a lot of that Celtic sort of sound in some of these tunes. Yeah.
All right, this is
That one
Reubens
was
Train.
called Honey Babe.
Honey
This one's
Babe.
good.
All right.
All right, and we do that in what?
I do an A.
A minor? A.
Well, Reuben had a train, he put it on the track, ran it to the Lord knows where. And it's oh me, oh Lord, in mine, ran it to the Lord knows where. Well, you should have been in town when Reubens Train went down. You could hear the whistle blow 100 miles. And it's oh me, oh Lord, in mine, you could hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Night I laid in jail, no money to call my bail. Oh, how it sleeted and it snowed. And it's oh me, oh Lord, and mine. Oh, how it sleeted and it snowed. And I've been to the east and I've been to the west. I've been where the chilly winds don't blow. And it's oh me, oh Lord, and mine. I've been where the chilly winds don't blow. Well, this train that I ride is 100 coaches long. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. And it's oh me, oh Lord, and mine. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. And it's oh me, oh Lord, and mine. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Thank you.
Before we go, is there any advice you would give to a youngster, or maybe even somebody my age, that's looking to get into playing roots music? What is some advice? Where's a good place to start?
You know, she described this jam program that they're having here. There's a similar one in Dahlonega called Pickin, where kids can go, or, you know.
You're a little too old for that,
Yeah,
though.
you're a little too old for that, yeah. But that would be one way young kids can get started well. But what else?
Well, these days with the internet and YouTube, there's so much instruction. You don't have to go to an instructor anymore and pay $30, $40 an hour. You can go to YouTube. But you know, it's when I was first learning the banjo, I think Joe can tell you, I would sit for hours and hours and just practice certain things. You know, your fingers are going to bleed, they're going to hurt, they're going to, you know, you have to get those callous. But the key is just practice, practice, practice. And once the instrument starts sounding good, that's when you start taking off. But you got to get to that point, and it can be rough sometimes. But you just, if you love it and you love the sound of the instrument, you have to practice. You have to practice, and
It's a boring answer, but a truthful one.
It is boring, yeah. I mean, most instructors, I've had a lot of instructors over the years, and more than once I've heard them say, you know, a musician to become good had a period of their time, their life, where they got obsessed with it, and they went into their bedrooms and they would spend hours and hours in there, you know, during the day, until somebody had to come tell them it's time to get out and come eat or something. Mm-hmm. And if you go through that, you've got a foundation. And, you know, if you want to do it, that might be the best way to do it.
Heck yeah. Well, I want to thank y'all for joining us today on
Thanks
the
for having us.
program.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Heck
Be
yeah.
with you guys.
We love this place.
Yep, yep.
For Don Allison, I'm Buster Talent. I want to thank Joe and Debbie Whelchel. This has been another edition of the Old Sautee Show. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.